Perfect.
And we are live. What's up, guys? Thank you for joining us for another Sunday Live Q&A. And today, I'm proud to have Mr. Zan Perrion on joining us. So, Zan is one of the... That's how you pronounce your name, right, Zan?
Yeah, Zan Perrion, yeah. Zan. Carry on.
Where's your name from?
My first name is Jonathan. So my middle name is Zan. So so my family and and people really close to me call me Jonathan, but my writing name and public name is my middle name, Zan. So
I mean, I feel like Zan has a more catchy ring to it.
Yeah, exactly right. It's a 3-letter name that very few people have. It's just strange, but anyway.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
But so anyway, for anyone who's not familiar with Zan, he's one of the OGs in the seduction community, and I wouldn't even classify you as a pickup artist. I don't think you would classify yourself as one of those either, right? You're more of like a writer, philosophist, but who has a book out called The Alabaster Girl, which is definitely, I'll be fully honest, I have not read it, but I kind of know what the book is about because I just kind of. Went through the Cliff Notes. But anyway, so has a book out called The Alabaster Girl. And I think where I want to start is that you were in the game.
Yeah, that's a long time ago now. Like, there's some guys that have never heard of that. I remember when the game first came out, it was such a buzz for like 2, 3, 5 years around the world that every girl and every guy I ever talked to in different cities, I read the game or I heard about the game. And now there's guys going, huh, what's that? It's been that long now that it's a bit more of it's feeding into history, I think, a little bit,
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll always be like a key part of pickup history.
Oh, it was a fundamental part of the real jolt of it, because we had conversations before that in private forums and public forums, and there was the strong quote unquote seduction community is what we used to call it back then, right? And it was quite strong. And Neil was kind of undercover in all these forums. Nobody knew that he was a writer for the Rolling Stone magazine or for the New York Times. And he wrote this book out from underneath everybody, kind of, I mean, he contacted me and he said, "Listen, Zan, I want to put a chapter about you in my book. Do I have your permission if I use some of your?" And I said, "No problem." So I knew about it, but a lot of guys didn't know about it, and it hit the world with a storm, as we know. Number one on the New York Times bestseller for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks.
I remember, like in the book, he says he was paranoid that all the pickup artists were going to turn on him, and he was going to have a bunch of guys like outside his house, like traitor. That part made me crack up. But let's go. Let's actually start before that. So, how did you get into pickup initially?
Well, for me, it's like I have only been interested in one thing my entire life, and that is girls. That's it. and I was terrible with girls in my 20s, in my early 30s and stuff. And I said, I want to figure this out no matter what. And back then there was no, I'm dating myself obviously here, but there was no help. There was no conversation about this, And certainly in this modern world, everything's kind of shifted that way. So I've always been interested in it. And as soon as the internet started to have conversations about it on the old bulletin board type of things before, WordPress and before social media of any kind, and there was a strong conversation, and I was involved in it in 2000, 2001, 2002, where I was telling guys stories and answering questions stuff like that. And Neil Strauss wrote in the book The Game. He said, we got this, and that came out 2005. He said, we've got this guy named Zan from Canada, who for the last 4 years in the forums, only answered questions, never really asked them. And by that time, I was really, really trying to get a good handle on understanding it. And I had a lot to share. I had a lot of stories to share, So I guess before anybody was really commercial, when David D'Angelo first came out with the W Dating, and I'm in his early series, like he did his masters or conversations with masters series, whatever. I'm in that series, So I was around at the very beginning. I knew all the guys and watched it develop and grow and become this thing that there's a real need for it. There was no conversation for men. There's no message for men that has any value, in this modern age. And you find out that guys invented themselves. The remarkable thing about this whole seduction community is that it developed. We think it was because of the loss of connection, authenticity, maybe, but that's always been. But what was remarkable for this whole seduction community and what we call pickup is the internet, and further than that, programming. All of this generation of men have programming in their DNA. Their fingertips are touching code in a general sense. So they started to think in that way, like, hey, you talk to girls, you say A, she says B, go to C, and that really caught the attention of men in this modern generation.
So are you saying the early guys in the pickup community, there was like a correlation between that, like a lot of them were coders?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I'm a coder. Like,
okay.
I'm
Interesting.
A computer nerd, man. Yeah, I was like, I'm a coder. Yeah, and I miss it and I love it. So yeah, it's so that made a sense to a lot of guys. If I can calculate, if I can run this through, here's an info loop. Here's the break out of that loop. Here's how to, and a lot of the language is based around that. Is like you open a loop and you close a loop, and on air go to when you're talking to a girl. So yeah, it's been it's this generation really set out to try and figure it out, and the internet allowed this conversation to be broad. I mean, before the internet, I guess you would talk in your bar, your pub,
right.
Try and figure it out. Or in the local church where you're trying to meet the girl at the Sunday dance,
You see that chick at mass? But how did you go from, for you it was definitely a lot harder because you did not have all these sources. So how did you go from not knowing and not being successful with women to actually like figuring this stuff out? What was that, what did that involve?
You just reminded me of something. A guy, I was in Switzerland a couple years ago, and this guy who was there hanging out with, he's 25 years old, and he said, "You know what, Zan? I have to say this to you. They don't make them like you anymore." And I thought, well, that's a nice thing. That's a cool guy. Thanks for saying that. No, he says, no, you're not hearing what I'm saying. It's not a compliment to you. It's not possible for someone like you to be born again in this day and age, because everybody's got phones, which we didn't have, cell phones. Everybody's got the internet. Everybody's got social media. Everybody's got these online dating, which you didn't have. So it's kind of a lost rhythm or a lost art that you had. And I'm like, that's true. Like, nobody's going to have to go through that, So, but I set out to study it, man. I said, I was in my 20s, and I was so lost and so alone and so insecure. And I said, and beating myself up, but the next day I'd go out to bars, and I'd go out trying to be cool by myself, standing there by myself for 4 nights a week for years.
And this was in Canada, right? You're originally from Canada? Okay.
I'm from Canada, yeah. And within my head, in my insecurities, I spent my 20s was a real sense of, I came out of the forest. Some of you guys might know my story, maybe not, but I left home at 13 and I moved deeper into the forest.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Yeah, my formal education is 8th grade, grade 8, we say in Canada, 8th grade.
So you were living in the forest by yourself?
No, I worked I was out there, basically helping a trapper, a mountain.
Okay.
And I was out in the wilderness in Canada, moccasins on my feet, a knife on my side, a rifle on my back, and no running water, electricity in my teen years,
Probably not too many girls to approach in that setting.
Yeah, and then at 18, I'm like, wait a minute, there's no girls out here, so I gotta get out of here. So I crawled out of the forest and came into the cities of the world without an education of any kind, and I never graduated high school, without an education, without any kind of money, and the sense of poverty and poorness, right? So insecurity. So who would want me? And I thought I had to scrabble and climb the ladder and do all this kind of stuff. And I would look at other guys, and they had cool cars and nice houses, and I didn't have anything, So I was massively a big. You could say I was embarrassed. I was massively embarrassed as a youth, But I liked girls, and so I would try to talk to girls and get up my nerve, and I had no help, like we say. And they would go on a date with me, and then they'd quote unquote flake after a date or two because I was massively attentive and massively available and writing poetry, because you see this in movies, right? You have to be the nice guy. I was a quintessential nice guy. And they'd be like, after a date or two, like, yeah, see ya. Nope, not interested.
Roses are red, violets are blue. You seem cute, so I will marry you.
Exactly. So it was a rough ride for me in my 20s, but I kept going. A guy said to me recently, he said, did you ever get discouraged and think that maybe you should quit? And I thought, wow, I'd never thought that ever. I was discouraged, but I never said I'm going to quit. And so my 20s was a mess. My 30s, I started to put things together. This is before the game or the internet, took off of this stuff. I started to put together, wait a minute, this girl said this to me, and I've heard that 100 times before now. And it always seemed to mean something else. And I started to feel the hidden conversation that was really happening behind, women, what women are really saying. So wait a minute, no. So my 30s, I started to get it, and I spent my 30s in and out of different, with girls and stuff like that. And then my 40s, I started to write about it. Was
there one specific turning point for you? Like, did you have, like, for example, like any major epiphanies, or was it just like a very gradual type of learning experience?
The only thing that happened to me that I can remember, like, it was a very gradual, step by step, day by day, head scratching, struggle. The only thing that happened to me one day, I remember sitting. There's two things that really hit me hard. The first one is this. I used to go out constantly. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, I would go out no matter what, because I had the fear of missing out, So I would put on some clothes, whatever I thought, and I'd go stand at the bar by myself. I would stand there. I didn't really drink, so I'd just stand there, like, leaning on the bar, trying to look cool, like that Clint Eastwood look, and hope something would happen until the lights came on. Then go home, lonely, thinking, why? But I remember this one night, I sat down. It was a Saturday night, and I was going to go out, and it was like 10 o'clock, and I was super tired. And I remember I sat down on my couch for a minute and said, okay, got to get in my car and go on here. And then the thought hit me, and I never had the thought in my life before, and it shocked me when it hit me like it was a lightning bolt. Sitting there like this, quiet, man, I'm tired. And the thought hit me, what if you don't go out tonight? What if you stay at home? And I tell you, it shocked me to my core. What? Is that an option? And I sat there for half an hour arguing with myself. Wait a minute, but what if the girl of your dreams out there tonight? And I stayed home that night. So I remember that as a kind of a weird kind of epiphany type moment for me. I don't know if it got me any further. But the second thing was, I remember thinking, every girl out there, including your sisters and everything, I don't care, right? Every girl out there is fantasizing about somebody.
That's true.
When she's laying in her bed and she's alone.
Every girl except my mother. Yep. Except
your mother, yeah. Except your mother. Every girl who's in the shower and whatever, they have this. Women are constantly thinking and have this fantasy. Okay, and women have taught me this. And so every woman out there is fantasizing about somebody. And I remember looking in the mirror one day and I said to myself, has it ever been you? Is there any woman in this world who's been fantasizing about you? And if not, why not? She's fantasizing about somebody. And I said, I have to figure this out. I'm going to sort it out. So that's.
And what was the ultimate answer that came to you? Like when you asked yourself, why not? What was the answer?
You know what? A whole layer of things, as you know, because you're in this whole industry, But for me, it was like to realize that things with women are subcommunicated. Subcommunication has been the thing that just blasted. Because I watched. I did my 10,000 hours standing in bars, watching guys straightening their ties, ready to go talk to the girl, and I watched them get shot down. I watched them get successful. I said, what is it? What is the spirit? Didn't talk much, whatever. And what you realize that there's an entire undertone with women that are trying to put out signals. They don't even know they're doing it, so they're not any more aware of anything than we are. But they subconsciously put out signals that I'm available. They can't overtly show it, right? Or I'm ovulating. They can't overtly show that. But they're looking around. If you see a group of girls dancing, like there's a group of 6 girls out, and they're dancing together in a circle, like they do, right? And they're looking at each other, smiling. You watch the one that's looking around occasionally, looking around like this. That girl's ovulating. She's looking around for like, oh, I'm here with my friends, but what else is what's of course.
You just approach her like, hey, I can tell you're ovulating right now.
Well, you could, yeah, you could. You're saying the right spirit, right? So you see that, and you start to realize that, man, what's happening is men are completely blocked from this sub-communication from women, and let alone that, we don't know how to do it back. So I learned, and partly because I was so afraid to actually approach, because I didn't have an approach coach, or somebody said, kick my ass and go talk to that set or the bunch of girls, and I would stand by myself. And so I learned to approach with my eyes from afar, to kind of like look at them and go with intention in my eyes, I see you and I like you, and wait till she caught my eye, and then would try and communicate that, and then that became my whole thing, sub-communication and communicating with women from afar and leaving nothing to chance, basically.
Got it. I definitely agree with your point. I mean, it really game happens in the, on the sub-communication level. Like, you can say all the right things, and if your sub-communications are off, it won't matter. And you can almost like say all the wrong things, but if you have good sub-communications, it likely will work out. And we'll definitely touch on that more later. But I want to go back. Okay. So let me ask you actually a slightly personal question. What age do you lose your virginity at?
Oh, I was 18.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 18, and I remember I think she felt sorry for me.
I was 19, and I think my girl also felt sorry for me.
Yeah, right.
Although it wasn't that bad because it only lasted like 10 seconds. So I don't even know if she knew that we had sex. She probably thought I was like still fingering her. I was like, oh, that's so good. And what age would you say you were like, would you say you were competent with women?
I would say somewhere in my early 40s.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And that's after a lifetime, brother.
I'm not
kidding. I never left it. I had one hobby in life, women. That's it. I didn't do anything else, but like guys would say to me, listen, we're going to go fishing off the coast of Vancouver Island. We've got this boat we rented, and we're going to go out there for a couple of weeks and grow beards and be these fishermen. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, wait a minute. Is there going to be women out there? And I wouldn't go. Everything I did, I played a little bit of guitar. Everything I did in my life was just try and, what can I do to increase or maximize my interface with women? That's it. That's all I wanted.
I think a lot of guys can relate to that, and I feel like, tell me if you agree or disagree with this, that's a blessing and a curse. The blessing part is that you're going to put in more work, but it's a curse because if you're so stuck on improving women, that actually might hinder you with women. Like, generally, I'm sure like women like it when you have a purpose outside of like them.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
Do you feel like
Go ahead. No.
Do you feel like in a way it was almost like that aspect was almost hindering you to some degree?
Not necessarily, because if one woman is your purpose, yeah, my purpose in life is that girl. Then all of a sudden you become the sucky, needy guy who sucks the energy out of her because you're all your attention's on her. But if your purpose in life is to understand your relationship with women, including that girl, then it's a different energy. So it's more of a student of life learning type of thing,
Got it. Let me ask you
get that.
Let me ask a quick question to the audience because I see a few people in the chat saying my mic is loud as fuck. So I just turned it down. Is this better, guys? Or if not, let me know and I'll turn it down some more. But anyway, getting back.
What?
No, yours is good. It's just on my end.
Okay.
I just got this new fancy mic and I'm still figuring this out. But yeah, so going back to your kind of rise in terms of success with women. So I mean, just sounds like you have decades of just sheer persistence. Like it sounds like one of the big things you had going for you is that you just did not give up.
That's a good summary of my life. Decades of sheer persistence. Yeah, I've never heard that before, but it's true. I just kept going. I wanted to know. I wanted to figure it out, no matter what.
And you didn't give up. I mean, I feel like to be honest, I feel like 95% of guys in your shoes would have, maybe more.
Yeah, and then they get bitter. And blame the women, there's a lot of broken women out there in this world. Obviously, we're running into it every day, right? But there's a lot of broken men, and this modern age is broken in that, So, yeah, I never gave up, and I thought, no, there's a moment I had one time, talking about the epiphany type moments, where I came out of the bar. I was like 21 or something, and I came out, and I was discouraged. And I saw sitting down on a like a little ledge over there, a girl. She was holding a cigarette, beautiful girl. And I looked at her, a girl out of my league, right? And I saw this girl sitting on this ledge, and she looked at me and she smiled. I'll never forget this girl's face. She smiled at me and she said hello, and I said hello. She said, "Come talk to me for a second." What? That just shocked me. And she was so kind and so smiling and so inviting. And I went and I sat down with her. And I talked to her for 5 minutes. She told me she's out of the town, but she wanted to say, she said hello to me and, come join me as I'm sitting here. And then she left into the night. And I never saw her again. It's like an angel that, and I was thinking about this, this girl was kind to me and wasn't the traditional, I'm busy and,
right.
The thing that we run into a lot, right? She was just sweet, and she was inviting to me, and I never forgot it. And she created what, Maslow would call a peak experience for me. It was like a moment of thinking, wow, there's a great person out there, a great angel. And then I thought this, have I ever been that for someone else? Have I ever been that 5-minute angel for some girl that she, I thought, why not? This is where the understanding has to go as far as I'm concerned. So I'm talking a lot, but.
No, this is good stuff. Let's kind of, okay. So I mean, you're like this highly admirable. I don't know why I'm stumbling with that word. That like all the persistence, because again, I feel like most guys would have given up, and possibly including me. Like for me, I would say that I struggled really hard. All throughout my teens. I would say I was competent by my mid-20s. So I would say like 6-7 years. But there was times where I thought about giving up, like multiple times, where it was just like so frustrating. But okay, so let's then crack into the game, because I find this is probably your biggest, I don't want to say your biggest claim to fame, but that's like what a lot of people know you for, right? Because you're in that book, and that's a really popular book. So how did you, so you said Neil whatever, he saw you, that you were active in the community, and then he like reached out to you?
Yeah, I mean, back then there was something like, here's some trivia for you. Back then there was something called the seduction committee was sparkling all over the world, which is amazing. It's not something that started like grunge in Seattle and then spread around the world. It's something that kind of started all over the world at once. So there was all these layers in different cities of around the world, and the seduction community just went boom and hit a nerve across the world, from Poland to whatever. And all these different, the conversations were happening in different languages about, game, you could call it, right? And back then, there was a rumor, because Mystery was one of the well-known guys. He was one of the first guys to be well-known, and he had what he called Mystery's Lounge. And Mystery's Lounge was a rumored place of where the cool guys were hanging on the internet, or the really good guys were hanging on, and it was a secret place that nobody could get into, right? So of course now it's the desired place. And I remember back then Neil Strauss was part of Mystery's Lounge, and he contacted me and said, "Listen, we've been watching you." I guess
we've been watching you. We have a man hiding outside your apartment.
And we want to vouch for you and invite you into this Mystery's Lounge. And so I was invited into this lounge. There's only like maybe 80 guys in there. Eventually TD, Owen Cook, got invited in there before RSD started, before there was any part of a dating coach. And all these different voices were in there. And it was a rumored place. And that we had a conversation in there that was thousands of posts in this secret hidden Mysteries Lounge that's lost. It's completely gone. Like the server was turned off.
Oh, that's a shame.
Nobody had any backup of it, whatever. But anyway, out of that conversation in the Mysteries Lounge, is where Neil pulled most of his information, his material. So the stuff that we wrote in there is what he pulled, and he did, the Hollywood Planet, or not Planet Hollywood, the Project Hollywood thing, and so yeah, it was like I said, none of us really knew he was writing the book until he contacted us and said, "Listen, can I have your permission to put your name in the book and to write about you in the book?" Yeah.
This was after the book was written. This was after Project Hollywood, right?
Yeah, he contacted me during Project Hollywood, as he was writing the book. Yeah.
So he trusted you not to snitch.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Yeah. He wrote about me in his second book, or the next book after that. He wrote a book called Emergency.
Oh, okay. I thought the Truth, or that was third.
No, he wrote Emergency, which is about how to survive in an apocalypse type of thing. And he wrote a bunch of stuff about, he wrote a conversation about me in there too. So he wrote about me in that second book too. But,
okay.
Yeah. Unrelated, but anyway, it's just a trivial thing I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. Did you ever hang out with those guys? Like, did you ever go to Project Hollywood and just stay there?
No, I didn't, but I hung with him around Project Hollywood. So I'm still, I still friends with these guys for years, I've never been in any quote unquote competition with any of these guys, because what I'm talking about is on a different substrata, a different level. So I've always been friends with Owen Cook. I've been friends with Mystery. I've been friends with Neil. I've been to Neil's house many times, and I saw Mystery with my girlfriend 4 or 5 years ago in London. Yeah. So no, it's like. I wasn't friends. I wasn't, traveling the world with them or anything like that, or doing hot tub parties with them. But yeah, I was like, I knew these guys back in the day.
What's your like, honest like thoughts on those guys? Like, how do you, what do you think about them? Like, just I'm sure they're all nice people, but in terms of like more like business and pickup.
I'll tell you. I'll use Mystery as an example because he's like the most high profile, I guess. Eric Von Markovic. Fellow Canadian. I went.
That's true.
I was invited to Neil.
So is Owen. Seems like all the OG guys are from Canada. Yeah.
Yeah. I was in Montreal with a girlfriend at the time, and Neil Strauss invited me to his birthday party in the Hollywood Hills in Los Angeles. So I said to my girl, let's go to the birthday party. And she's like, I don't want to be around all these pickup artists. Come, let's go. Oh, God. So we went. And we were in this place and Mystery was there, and a bunch of people were there, and we stayed till quite late, and the party winded down, and Eric, which is Mystery, was the most gracious, most kind, most reaching out, most generous of spirit to my girl at the time, and she told me later, she said, he was so normal and sweet and good guy, yeah, I mean, I think like guys like Eric are they, maybe it's because of years of being in the industry. I don't know, but they have a natural. They're relaxed. They're not trying to be. They're not trying to impress you. They're just, and my girlfriend Deanna, who I'm with now, met him in London. We had a great time, and had a nice experience, and she really liked him. He's a good guy, So I don't know. I don't have anything bad to say about anybody,
My kind of
judge.
Yeah, I mean, my kind of take on it is that, like, if we go to like the OG guys, like for example, like you, Niels, right? Like you guys kind of adapted with the times, right? That's kind of my take on you, like, just from like the research I did, and also same for Niels. Like, versus like guys like Mystery, they're kind of like stuck in the past. Like, I mean, you'll just see this like based on some of the stuff. Like, he's actually pretty active or somewhat active in my Facebook group, Playing with Fire.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he'll say stuff like, like texting is pointless. If you can't get a girl Skype, it's a waste of time. And like, dude, like most of these young chicks don't even know what Skype is. They certainly don't have it on their phones. Like, you know what I mean? So like, he's like very much stuck in the past. And shit does change with the time. I mean,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's a whole different ballpark now. So that's kind of interesting observation. I actually want to have Mystery on. I've reached out to him a few times, but it's weird because he's super active. Well, not super active, but he's active in my Facebook group, but he just completely ignores the PMs.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Eric Monvar, whatever. If you're watching this, come on, We're gonna do a
Yeah.
good live Q&A.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty interesting, man. So you like, you kind of came full circle, and then to kind of bring this to, how did you move to Romania? Like, what was the motivation there?
Well, I hit the road when I was writing my book, The Alabaster Girl. I hit the road and I reduced myself. I was a corporate guy. Like I said, I'm a programmer, and I was in charge of the commodities and, various things like that. And I had a corner office with like 5 monitors on my desk. And every year I thought, this is not my spirit, not my heart. And so at one point I quit my corporate job. Shocked me, scared me to my core, because I quit this safety, security. And I reduced all my possessions from an apartment with a fancy house or fancy furniture and stuff. I had reduced myself down to a carry-on bag and 1 pair of shoes. I hit the road, and I traveled for 10 years. I lived, for a month here, Panama or South Africa or something. I would go for a month or 2 and just move around. I was very much a digital nomad before it was really easy to be a digital nomad. It's like, before we had the real strong ability to do that. And I just was traveling, writing and thinking and doing some public speaking, etc., doing some coaching and stuff. And then I went to Nicaragua to work on my book. I said, my book is 90% done. I have to sit down somewhere. I need to either go to jail, or I need to be locked on a desert island or lost on a desert island to finish this book. So, because I'm always distracted, right? So I artificially created it. I went to a small fishing village in Nicaragua for 4 months. Nobody spoke any English. I ate a fish every day from the woman next door. I learned Spanish because I had to, and I sat there in the same T-shirt and shorts every day working on my book. And went this small fishing village with these poor people who were so divinely happy, And I thought, wow. And I came out of there straight to Amsterdam and did a weekend intensive, for my guys, for my group. 30 guys in the group, weekend intensive. And all I could think is, man, these people from Nicaragua had nothing, and they have so much joy. And we are such abundance, and we're so anguished, and I'm a victim, right? I'm sitting there looking at this group. And then at the end of it, one of the guys said, I'm from Romania, and I invite you to my country. I'm like, Romania? If you're from the West, if you're from Canada or United States, you go to Europe, you go to Spain, you go to Italy, you go to France.
Romania, isn't that where vampires are from? Like, do I need silver? Yeah.
And back then, if you're from Western Europe, you think, Romanians, a bunch of gypsies are going to steal my kidney. So they had this, nobody goes to Romania, right? And I thought,
no one goes.
Right, to Romania, I'm going to go. So I came here, and I was shocked by this country, and it's the most Western of the Eastern European countries, kind of, And it's
really? You really think so? Like more Western than Poland?
No, it's just, as I said that, I realized, no, Poland's more Western. Yeah. That's true. As I caught myself as that. But they've got everything we have in the West, and and I came here 10 years ago, and there's something in it that made me stop travel. I traveled for 10 years. And then I came here, and there's something that made me stop, and just like for the next year, I would go away, but I'd come back, go away, come back. There's something about here. And then I realized, or I found out, my father, my grandfather is born on the border of Romania and Ukraine, in just north of where I am right now. So my DNA, and I did a 23andMe test, my fathers and grandfathers and great grandfathers are all from this border of Romania and Ukraine. So my DNA is here. So there's something about it that made me go, I like it, and it's my kind of girls, my kind of, I don't know, spirit. So I kind of stayed. Yeah.
The chicks in Romania, I spent 6 days in Bucharest. The chicks in Romania are definitely very hot. It's like the #1 place, or at least it used to be, for, I'm sure you know this, for camp girls. Like, yeah. So you have a lot of like the chicks, it's just like they just got their tits done. You could tell, like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm gonna start camming.
I knew a guy years ago, I still know him, who started that. He started like the cam girls. Like, he's a Canadian guy, lives down.
It was 2 brothers, right?
Yeah, and I know that I know the guy, and I spent time with him, and he's just a good guy, and just like normal guys. He's got a wife. He's like, yeah.
Do you run into the cam girls, or like, at least back when you were single, did you run into a lot of the cam girls, or they're mostly hiding in their apartments?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't remember any cam girls that I can think of, but there's such an abundance of great, good spirited girls here, and they all everybody speaks English here, so yeah, that's good.
My only thing with Romania, honestly, I don't know if you've noticed this, but like, there's like this. I don't know. Maybe it was because it was the summer in Bucharest, and anyone who's in the summer in Bucharest is miserable because they didn't go to the coast like most people do, and it's like fucking hot, and you're walking down the street, and like all these ACs are broken, they're dripping on your head, just fucking random like fucking shot of Romanian AC jizz like on your head, but I noticed that like a lot of there's this like kind of like I don't know like melancholy undertone to like a lot of people in Romania. At least like that was my experience. And like I remember like a few girls I would talk to, the question I would always get like, but why are you here? Why would you come to Romania? Like the implication is that it's like a shithole versus like in the US, no US person says why would you come to the US? Everyone just fuck yeah, you're in the US. So I kind of noticed that. I noticed about Romania and Finland. Finland, it was like every single girl.
Oh really?
Yeah. But why Finland? Why would you come here? I don't know, like fucking cool country, girls are hot. But why Finland?
Yeah, there's a pessimistic view here for sure. But the ones who have traveled and lived abroad and done stuff, and they come back to the country, they go, wait a minute, it's not. They don't have a pessimistic view anymore. It's not so bad as I thought it was, compared to some of the rest of the world. So, yeah, and I'm an advocate for it. I like it here, and I think I like the brokenness of the city that was communist stomped on. And it's starting to come back into the Parisian feel, it's starting to rise back from the ashes. I kind of like it.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the old town, like the city's beautiful in the old town. Like it's like definitely has a vibe that like feels like, I don't know, you're like 200 years ago in the past, and like there's no cars there. There's that street. I mean, it's definitely like cool in terms of the architecture. So is Romania like your favorite place out of all the places you visited?
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah, I would say so. In Colombia, maybe getting close up there.
Colombia is
Poland too. I love Poland, man. Poland's great. Poland is fantastic. I like
Poland is awesome.
A lot.
Yeah.
But I think Romania is my favorite place. Yeah. I have to say, yeah. Okay. And I've been to Ukraine. I've been to lots of places, but there's something about it. And maybe, like I said, it's just my DNA is like embedded in the soil here. I don't know. I guess.
And then this kind of easily ties into, so now you met your wife here, right, in Romania?
Yeah.
What made you kind of, because this is a question I'm sure a lot of guys will have, like what made you go like, okay, she's the one, I want to give up the game?
You know what happened? I'll tell you a quick story, because it's a funny story. We had an Amirati conference of my guys, right, my membership group. This is like 9 years ago now, next spring. So 8.5 years ago. We had an Amirati conference, which we have every spring and fall, in Romania here, and I had all these guys from around the world. I had Johnny Saporno and different people coming here, and we had this conference, and we all went out to the bar the night on the last Saturday night of the weekend of our conference. And I met her as I was talking to another girl. I was like leaning on the bar, talking to this little brunette. I still remember it. And I saw this blonde girl walk by with her friend, and I stopped this brunette and said, "Hey, hold on for a second." I said, "Hey, hello," and I said, "Hello," and I gave her my card. I reached across this brunette's face and I gave this blonde girl my card, and all I remember is she was wearing gloves, and she took my card and she wandered off. And the next day, I contacted her and said, "Hey, listen, this is Sunday and we're having a thing tonight. Would you like to come?" Because she had contacted me with Facebook.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
So we connected on Facebook, and I never talked to her once, but she said, "Okay, I'll come over, but I don't know you guys, I'm a little nervous." And I said, "Well, I'll meet you in the wine bar below my apartment before you come up to, So I met her down there, and I said, "You want to come up and meet some of the guys?" And so I brought her up there was like 40 guys in my apartment, and a bunch of girls, and I threw her into the wolves. And I like this girl. I thought, this is a great girl. I like her. She's got a good spirit, etc. But I was flying the next day to go to Poland to go sailing in the Baltic with a girl for 2 weeks. We were going to go on this sailing trip. We had it all planned. I was flying the next day to go sailing with this girl. And so I thought, well, I really like this girl in Romania, but I got this trip planned with this Polish girl. So it was nice to meet you. And I said goodbye to her. And then that night I went to sleep. I was supposed to catch the plane the next evening. I went to sleep, and I had a fever. In the middle of the night, I woke up with like shaking, like freezing cold and massive fever. like really delirious. And I thought, what? And anyway, I fell back asleep, and I woke up the next morning, and I thought, wait a minute, what was that last night? Because I felt perfectly fine now, right? Perfectly fine. So that was weird. I must have had food poisoning or something. So I walked into the bathroom, and I looked in the mirror, and I had a red rash on my chest. And I said, oh, I got something. So I called one of the Romanian girls I know, and she took me to a clinic, and she said, the doctor said, have you ever had the measles before? And I said, well, yeah, when I was a kid. And I think. She said, well, you have them now. I said, well, I'm going to Poland tonight. She goes, no, you're not. You're quarantined for 10 days, so you can't go anywhere. So I stayed in Romania, and my girl, Deanna, came over every day and brought me soup and took care of me.
She nursed you back to health?
Yeah, so we met through a disease. And we've been together ever since. Yeah, great, yeah.
Nice, man. I mean, it's kind of somewhat similar to the story of how my grandparents met. It's a pretty funny story. My grandpa was drunk at a bar in a city he was not from. He got drunk and hurt his leg, and then he just was stumbling because he didn't know where to go. You know, he didn't have cell phones back then, and he stumbled, and somehow he stumbled onto my grandma's apartment, and she let him in, and which big risk, you're just letting a fucking stranger in, like, you know, and basically nursed him back to health for 3 days. And apparently at the end of the 3 days, my grandpa tried giving my grandma money because he thought she was a prostitute. And then my grandma was like, "What the fuck? Like, I don't want your money. Like, I'm just trying to be nice and to help you out." And then after that, apparently he was like, "Nope, this is the one." So then, like, he went back to his Russian village, and then came back and said to her dad, "I want to marry your daughter." And he's like, "You guys don't know each other. Maybe you should like talk a little bit more." But anyway, yeah,
great.
So, these stories.
So that's how we started. It was kind of an accident thing, or fate, however you want to call it. But it's she's my dear, man. She's a good girl. One of the good ones.
Awesome, man. Are you guys doing more of like a traditional relationship, like, you know, where it's just like you guys are just seeing each other, or is it like kind of an open type of thing?
We don't. I'm a one woman type of guy. You know, if I like a girl, I really like her. You know, and it's like, and I want to see her, and I miss her when she's gone. You know, that sort of thing. So we have we're really tight that way, and just not my style. You know, and I know lots of guys who advocate open relationships, and they're successful running, you know, these kind of things. Just not my style. I like my girl, and I like to hang out with her, and, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And before we take questions, let me actually ask one question I always like to ask guests. So what would you say, you've been in this pickup community for, you know, a very long time, seduction community, whatever we want to call it. What would you say, and I'm sure you see this pattern time and time again doing coaching, guys who are at this for a long time and they make almost no progress, or even they make negative progress. Like, I see this time and time again. Guys are like, yeah, you know, I've been at this for 5 years. I'm like, okay, so what are the results like? Still suck, still get no pussy. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. So what in your experience are the reasons guys are not getting good?
Well, honestly, I think it's because, if I'm just to wing this one right now, I think it's because this modern age is completely surrounded or enveloped with the idea of psychological self-help. In other words, I'm not good enough, but if I do this or study this or take this, then maybe I'll, you know, from the Tony Robbins to whatever, then maybe I will have the confidence and I can do it. And I think it's been a disservice. I honestly do. I think, you know, because the history of your grandfather, for instance, and his grandfather in different cultures around the world, they didn't have any kind of self-development or self-help, and they were just as lost and abandoned and hurt by mother, and, you know, the same, you know. So I think we have deflected, or we've deferred our action by saying, when I study this, or when I accomplish this, or when I become better at this, or more, then I will be more confident and can stand on this earth. And it's stunted our growth. It's stopped us in our tracks, you know. And I think it's
although just to quickly add, to be fair, like back in those days, a lot of it was like you were really only having sex with your wife, and that was commonly like through, you know, your family. That's so it was like you didn't really need game back then. Almost like you just need to come from, like, you know, have some money or not be a potato farmer.
Well, true.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of guys that they're you know, they think that there's a lot of guys that are just lonely and would like to have a good girl, you know, like have someone in their life, you know, like a good companion, someone that adores them, you know. So I I'm not sure, but I think the reason guys are not making progress is because they're waiting for something to happen with them, their confidence or their psychology or their shift in them, so that they can stand on this earth for once, in their own glory and say, "Hey, here I am," and I think that the greater thing is to go forth in all of our greatness and all of our brokenness and all of our this whole spectrum of us, which is what we would call an authentic self, and stand on this earth and say, you know what, hey, I'm nervous, but I'm talking to you still. At least I'm talking to you. I'm doing my best. I'm a student of light. So I think there's a lot of coaching circles for men, or coaching for men, that is like circling and eye gazing and sitting and getting into our hearts as men, okay, or beating our chests in the forest, sort of thing. And my idea more is like, let's go into the land of women, you and me as buddies, and we don't know, we're gonna figure it out as we go. Let's talk to the girls. Let's run into all kinds of obstacles, and let's figure it out as we go. Because everybody did in history, So I don't know. I really don't know the answer to your question, to be honest. But
do you feel like maybe though, if you had, I know you mentioned that the Alabaster Girl was kind of written to like your earlier you. Do you feel like if when you were like in your 20s and you were struggling, if you could have read that book, that could have significantly shortened your learning curve?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I mean, like, it took me 10 years to write the book, and maybe I have one here. Here, right here. There it is, Alabaster Girl. If anybody wants a copy, I printed a bunch in Romania here. I've got like 2,000 books sitting at Serene's house, and I'll sign it for you and put this handy dandy bookmark. You just
nice.
Have to, just
send the shipping.
Yeah, shipping and handling. That's it. $10, $9.95, and I give the book as a gift. And it cost me, I think I lose $1 per book, but I've got 2,000 printed, so I got to get rid of them.
Yeah, dude, I think we'll get at least 100 out of this podcast. We'll post all the info at the end so how guys can reach it.
So it took me 10 years to write it, and what I tried to capture in that book is the spirit of men who have abundance with women. They it's not so much what they're saying, it's that women are drawn to them. They go, that guy's not the tallest, he's not the most good looking, he's not rich, but there's something about him and I can't stop thinking about him. So what is that energy? What is that spirit of that man? So I tried to capture that in 400 pages of that book, and which I've never seen anywhere before, So as opposed to this, as opposed to the specific things, well, there's a lot of specific things. There's a lot of dialogue in there. There's a lot of conversation examples in there, but it's more like, why is it that there's some men can walk up to a woman and not say a word? And his opening line is silence. And he's out of the corner of his eye, he looks at her, and she looks at him and she goes, I'm taken. I'm caught up in the energy of this guy,
It's probably more effective than a lot of the lines I hear in the pickup community anyway.
Yeah. It's sub-communication, right? It's like leaving nothing to chance. So it's like, and I wanted to know why? There's some guys that have this, because everybody can think about somebody in college that, always had girls. And he was just a dork. How's that guy get girls? And I got a six-pack, and you know what I mean. And this guy gets the girls. How's that possible? So what is the energy and spirit of that guy? What is he? How does he move through life that women go, he gets a free pass? Everybody else has to date me 3 times and jump through hoops. Yeah, that's just him. He gets in my bed right away. The rest of you have to date me.
Yeah, I mean, 100% true. Girls will make exceptions for, like, some guys. Like, some girls are straight up like, I don't do anything on the first day. I don't do anything on the first day. And then I fuck them within, like, half an hour meeting. Yeah. So, yeah, for sure. My kind of answer to that question, something I've thought about a lot just from doing coaching. I would say it boils down to 3 big things. Lack of internal game, lack of external game, and lack of action. So, for example, internal game would be like, actually having abundance mindset, not being needy, just being grounded, being able to look at all the stuff we're talking about, like your subcommunications, your vibe, being able to maintain eye contact. Like, most guys are like fidgety and shit. Like, that's commonly one thing I hear on dates, like, wow, your eye contact is so good. I was like, yeah, do most guys not look at you? I already know the answer to that, but I like to ask this question anyway. They're like, no, they're just kind of fidgeting around, like, you're making me blush. Lack of external game. So, this is kind of where you have like more of a natural, like the naturals, who people who don't even know about the pickup community, but they're they're not getting laid to their full potential or not having success with women to their full potential because they don't know like the right, external games. Like they're still doing some things that are suboptimal. But honestly, that's the easiest one to fix because internal game, in my opinion, is a lot harder to learn than external game. And then last one is lack of action. Some guys have all the game they need, but they just don't talk to girls. They don't put them, kind of what you mentioned, like going out there and putting yourself out there.
Of course.
They don't do that. Yeah, that's kind of like my take on that whole thing. All right, let's jump to some questions because they're starting to really pile up. So, technical game versus natural game. Question for the Big Zan. Big Zan.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, I used to have natural game. I still have naturalgame.com, the domain from way back, 15 years ago, because we were talking about the idea of being natural, and by natural doesn't mean that you're born with it. Natural means that it's something that you have considered. You sat in consideration. You said, I want to understand something, and I want to understand the way, like I talked earlier. The word that's overused today, and everybody's co-opted it, is the word energy. It's like, energy field, and everything from the shamanistic practices to yoga and everything talks about energy, right? So it's overused and bled from any kind of real vitality, the word energy. But energy is also a physics word. So when you're standing in a bar and you look across at a girl over there who catches your eye, and she looks at you and you look at her, and you give some kind of intention in that eye, which is in your view, which is to say, I see you and I like you. You can feel it here, right? There's actually photons that are transmitted and entangled. It's a physics thing. There's an energetic field that anybody who's listening to this will recognize a time in life where, yeah, I had this connection with this girl and it was on. I could feel it.
You go up to the girl, you're like, my photons are fucking penetrating you right now.
Exactly. I'm entangled with you, girl. Exactly. So that's to dip into the awareness of that. I mean, everything I've done, all my coaching over the years, all my programs, everything, this book, the book, The Alabaster Girl, is all about, writing about that sub-communicated transmission of energy and that communication that happens, which all the greats, I studied, like when I was 18, 19, I read, Casanova's memoirs. He never was trying to be the guy that's out alpha-ing other guys. He circulated around the group of guys, circulating around the hot chick, and he would basically, sub-communicate with her. I like you, and when you're done with these guys, come to talk to me. And it was like, that was his whole method. The whole thing was sub-communication, and you realize that, and when you start to become aware of sub-communication, you start to see it everywhere. You see it in 2% of the guys, and 98% of the women. You see it everywhere. Whoa, I can see what's there. Whoa. You see it everywhere. Yeah.
Did you ever hear that story about, slightly off topic, did you ever hear that story about Casanova, how him and his friends were walking around and he saw like a girl out with a guy and he really thought the girl was cute, so he had his friends beat up the guy, and then he he took her on a boat, went to some island, and him and all his friends just like gangbanged her?
I don't remember that one.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. I mean, kind of my take on this thing is that it depends how you define technical game. Like people ask, external, internal game, and I say they're equally important sides of the same coin. You need both. They're both important and they're not a replacement for each other. Technical game, but if you define technical game as like, very structured pickup lines, personally, I don't think that's an effective strategy. I think it's good to have some technical game in your overall arsenal, but I think like I see the guys who are just like too scripted and they're like reading off a script, and like time and time again girls are just get turned off by that because you sound like a robot, like you're not able to adapt. So in that sense, I think it's largely inferior.
And let me say this too, Alex, is like the guys who were technical back in the day, because this goes back to what we talked about earlier, like the mysteries of the world, because of experience, whatever. When you see them in real life, and I've seen him, there's a very naturalness about what he's doing. Like he's not doing his own, his own algorithms. He's like, he's relaxed into something else. And maybe when you've got volumes of experience, you've been down that path many times, there's something in you that just kind of softens and relaxes, and you see this in a lot of these guys. They're very natural, I guess you could call it. Very natural and very calm and relaxed. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. And so one thing that's important to remember about Mystery that a lot of guys forget is the context. Like Mystery, before he did pickup, he was a magician, right? He was that's what he was known for. So for Mystery, and he's kind of like just like his whole personality. He's like this really tall guy who's like very eccentric and stuff like that. So when Mystery starts doing magic tricks for girls or doing like these weird routines, that fits very well with his personality. Now,
very congruent, yeah.
Yeah, when a frat boy or something like that starts doing that, that's extremely incongruent. So I think a lot of guys forget the context. Now, the mistake that I think Mystery makes is that he assumes that because it works for him, it will also work for other guys, which is a fallacy. Because again, it's based around. I mean, there's definitely some principles he talks about that I agree with, but generally speaking, it's like attribution error, right? So I think that's a good point. All right, let's jump to this question. The other day, I was in a rush to work and going through a subway situation during rush hour, and right when I turned the corner, cute girl is suddenly in my face going the other way. She's in your face. Continued in next message. All right. Our eyes met for a split second, and she disappeared. All this occurred within a window of 2-3 seconds. Is there a way to open in a sudden encounter like this?
Oh man, I tell you, that would happen to me too, or anybody, where you're running down the there's actually a movie called Roger Dodger where the scene is exactly this. The guy's going down into the subway stairs in New York, and she's walking out, and as he's heading down the stairs, she turns and smiles at him, and he's like, and she's gone down around the corner, and the moment's lost, and he's going, I missed my chance again. The only thing you could do in this moment is to turn around and go and try and find her, because she's going the opposite way, it sounds like, right? So yeah, is there a way to open in sudden encounter that? Yeah, you're gonna have to chase it down if it's something you really want to understand, or want to go to.
I mean, I would just address it, I'll be like, hey, this is really random, but I think we just had a moment. I really had this situation a week ago. I was with my buddies, we were walking this way, a group of people was walking this way, and me and this chick, make eye contact, and I feel it. And then I walk past her, and I look back. I know she has this fat Latina booty. I'm like, no, not letting this one slide. So I run up to her after a group of friends, run half a block. I'm like, hey, I know it's super random, but we had a moment, and I would feel kind of like I failed if I didn't come and meet you. And
that's perfect.
Yeah, and then got her number and all that. But yeah, so I think that just calling it out, if you
that's perfect. You said it's perfect. What you said to her is exactly what I would do to it. Listen, I had to say this because otherwise I never see you again. I'm not going to let that go to chance. I had to come find you and say this to you. So what you said to me, I think is fantastic. Good for you.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think just being congruent with the situation and how you feel is the way to go in situations like that. It will make it, you say you run after that girl and you're like, hey, who lies more, men or women? She's like, what the fuck?
Or can you tell me where the nearest Starbucks is? No.
Hey, I had to chase you down to find out where the Starbucks is, because you look like a woman who knows her fucking coffee. All right.
You know what? I'm a big fan, Alex, of just speaking it as how it is, man. Just saying it. You know what?
Yeah.
I was with my friend Alex over there, and I saw you, the way your dress is moving. I had to come say hi to you. I don't know you, and I've never seen you before, but I would be remiss if I didn't come say hi to you. That's all I know. That's my whole opening. I have nothing else to say after that. Hello, what's your name? I'm Zan.
Yeah, I mean that's really the most powerful approach.
100%.
Girls can smell bullshit, maybe not conscious level, but subconscious level, way better than men. So if you're kind of bullshitting or being around the bush, most girls, unless she really likes you, she will kind of blow you off. She'll be like, yeah, this guy has a secret agenda. This is why I do it. A lot of guys will try to hide the fact that they're hitting on the girl, but why hide it? She already knows.
Ah, it's the greatest thing to show. I like you, and I don't know why. I'm Zan. What's your name? Come here, talk to me. Come tell us a story. Perfect. Good for you, man.
For sure, brother.
That's a great lesson for guys, because they're trying to deflect that and, I just didn't mean to bother you, but I just, like you said, and then they ask some question that isn't really aligned. It's not true what they really want. They don't care about the coffee shop, and I've never understood that.
And the girl knows that you don't care about the coffee shop. She knows. And so, she knows, you guys both are playing this, pretend game, blah, blah, blah. She's waiting, okay, how long until this guy makes his intention clear or leaves me alone? And you're thinking, how long until I can make my intentions clear, right? So, yeah, that's a whole rabbit hole. All right, so this question, in general, how do you deal with I'll let you know, or a girl sidestepping an advance you made by changing the topic?
Sidestepping in advance you made by changing the topic. Well, you know what? You calibrate it. Like if, for instance, if you're talking to a girl and it seems like it's a good energy, and then you say something, and listen, it was nice talking to you. Would you like to get together sometime, or you'd like to go for a drink or whatever? And she says, listen, it's nice of you to ask, but I have a boyfriend. I'm not interested. In other words, there's this monotone, flat way she says it. She says, I just wanted to let you know I have a boyfriend. I'm not interested. You'll never line up anything there ever, because she's telling you this. I'm good with my guy. You're a good guy, but I'm not interested at all. I'm just not interested. If she says it with animation, pretend outrage. I told you I have a boyfriend. Why? I told you're in, and she likes you.
Dude, very interesting point. Yeah.
100%.
Very interesting point.
If she goes like this, I can't believe you just said that, and I have a boyfriend. I already told you you're in. You're 100% in.
That's so true.
Girl likes you.
That's so true. I think, for it really depends on the context. Like, for example, say you meet a girl in real life and you're talking, and you're like, hey, listen, let's go on a date. Are you free tomorrow night? And she's kind of on the spot, and then she says, I'll let you know. That's to be expected, because maybe she just legitimately wants to kind of figure out her schedule, take a step back. So in a situation like that, pushing it further will be, counter to it. Like, in that situation, you want to be like, okay, cool, yeah, let me grab your number. We'll figure it out over text. That's the approach you want to take in a situation like that. For example, if you're, say you're texting a girl and you're like, hey, so we should get together sometime soon, and she's like, I'll let you know, right? That's a sign that there's some kind of concern or objection there, where she's just not interested. So I'll just say something like, you don't sound confident, and she'd be like, well, blah, blah, blah. She'll either tell you her objection, like, actually, I'm not that interested. So I just think
back in the day when I would get a girl's number, I learned to say this. Are you excited? I'm going to call you tomorrow. I'm going to call you at 6 o'clock. Are you excited? You have to be excited. Otherwise, I'm not going to call you. Are you excited? Because I wanted that energetic expression back,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm going to call you at 5 a.m. Are you excited? You better be up.
Yeah.
Better be up.
Answer on the first ring, girl.
First ring. Don't make me wait until the second ring. You know how I get when I have to wait. You don't want that.
I evolved over the years to stop even asking for any contact information whatsoever, because I wanted to know if she was devoted or not. So I would say this: listen, hey, Alexa, you be my girl. I would say, Alexa, listen, it was nice talking to you, and I would like to see you again. It was nice talking to you, statement, and I would like to see you again, statement. And shut up. Imagine that. Most guys are trying to fill in the dead air and like talk. It was nice to meet you, and I really like to see you again, and you shut up. And there's because what'll happen in that moment, she will either say this: I can't because I'm married, or I have a boyfriend, or I have a lot of studies, right? Which means no. Or she'll say, okay, well, I get off of work at 8. Or she'll say, okay, well, take my number, or add me on Facebook, or here's my Instagram. In other words, I would just say this: it was really nice to talk to you, and I would love to see you again. And shut up. And if she offers you her phone or Instagram or Facebook, if you contact her or Messenger, she will not flake, the quote unquote flake, because she gave you the information. You didn't ask for it. You said, I would like to see you again. You shut up. Oh, okay, well, here's my number. And if a girl offers you her number or her information, she's interested, and she's gonna answer when you contact her. So I wanted to make sure of that, so I wouldn't ask for it. I would say, I would like to see you again, and shut up. And she'll say, okay, well, how do we do this?
My only quandary with that is that especially nowadays, some girls might be like, okay, so do you want to get my Instagram or Snapchat, which I feel are like largely inferior forms of communication to WhatsApp and text.
Yeah, that's failed us, man. I tell you, like, it's low impact, and every girl wants Instagram followers. So even if she's not interested in you at all,
never sell for the Instagram.
She'll say, "Oh, you could add me on Instagram." It's like, and then you try and message her a day later.
Yeah, never sell. When a girl says that, I'll be like, do you really need one more followers? I'll flip it. I'll be like, you just came up and started flirting with me and started seducing me and talking about my nice booty just so you could get one more Instagram follower. She's like, wait, you did that to me? Ha 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 ha. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna text you. And then but yeah, I kind of what you do, I do to some extent. Like what I've been doing lately is like, talking to a girl, good vibe, this from cold approach. I'll say, listen, we should grab drinks sometime soon. And then I shut up also. And I want her to agree.
Yeah.
I want that buy-in. And I want her to say, yeah, totally, that would be fun. That's what I want. And then when she says
100%.
that, I'll reward by saying, all right, cool, what's your number?
I want her to be invested in it too. Like, so like you said, we should have drinks sometime. That's not a question. Do you want to have drinks? Like, guys have interrogation in their voice all the time, right? Which is, are you free on Saturday? Would you like to have drinks sometime? And if you just say as statements instead, like, we should get together sometime, or let's have drinks sometime, or we should have drinks, it's a different energy. It's a better energy.
Mm-hmm. I think it's key. Kind of what we're talking about is having buy-in from the girl. Like, it shouldn't be just you doing all the work. There needs to be, you're going to do the initial work and you're going to do a lot of the work, but the girl needs to buy in at various points in the thing. That's why I typically, like, when a girl says, oh, okay, do you want to just come meet me by a bar near my place? No, I'm not going to do that. I would say, no. Why don't you come meet me by a bar at my place? Because if she drives closer to my place, that's a lot more buy-in from her. And just like constantly getting that buy-in is actually really crucial, I think, to optimizing success with women. All right, let's jump to this question. Are you in a rush, Zan, or do you have time for like a few more questions?
No, it's only 4:00 in the morning. I did a 2-hour interview like at 10 o'clock my time till midnight, and then I slept for an hour, and then I got up to hang out with you guys till.
Oh shit, dude, you're a fucking trooper, man. Thank you, bro.
Yeah, I'm wide awake. I'm good.
We all appreciate it. All right, my ex always had trouble maintaining eye contact with me when it was a good mood and we're bantering. It'd be mostly be okay, but other times she'd be looking to the side or completely looking away. Continued. All right, this is like a 4-part question. She didn't like to talk about, and when I brought it up, she'd just give vague answer that it felt weird to her. Even after sex, I'd fall asleep and she'd caress my face while looking at me. Oh man! Wow. But then when I woke up to look her in the eyes, she completely flipped to her side another way, and her would face to me. We broke up for other reasons, but it was a turn off for me. I'm gonna say that 90% chance this girl was probably Asian. Is there a good way to train a girl to do desired behaviors? I'm not really a fan of the word train, but anyway. So whether is this or other types of behaviors? Thanks so much, heroes. Okay, what's your take on this?
I don't know. Like, maybe, like you said, it was a cultural thing. I don't know. Like, I don't know, but maybe I also feel maybe kind of sorry for the girl, because if she's staring at you and lovingly while you're sleeping, and then can't bear it when you're awake, that's a sad thing to me. And I don't, because I want devotion from a girl. I love my girl, and I want her to be, I want like that feeling that So I'm not sure what's going on. Do you think it's cultural?
I think that's part of it, but I think a lot of it also has to do, the girl has some kind of internal trauma surrounding that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that was sad.
So maybe her dad, when she was growing up, would stare her down while he yelled at her, like it's something weird like that, and there's some kind of internal thing to it. So what I would do in a situation like that is I would address it in a way that does not make her feel judged, or like I'm chastising her, but in a way that's like, hey, I'm with you and we're both trying to figure this out, where it's not like me trying to train you, but we're both trying to work for this. So like kind of my last girlfriend I had, she was very bad with communicating when she was angry, right? She was good communicating in every other situation, but when she was upset with me for something, she would just bottle it up and she would let it pester and pester and pester until she exploded a few days later. So that was like an issue we had. What I would do is like I would just multiple times like, hey, listen, like I almost just said her name, but hey, listen, we you're noticing a pattern here, right? And she'd be like, no, blah blah blah, and I'd be like, come on, like let's talk about this. A very calm voice, and she'd be like, okay, that's a pattern. I'm like, listen, let's make a deal. Like if you're upset with me, I want you to tell me right away. I think that's gonna be better for both of us. Yeah. Don't you agree? And she'd be like, yeah, that's so. Again, I wouldn't say so much training. It's not like a dog you give them cookies and shit. Like like. If you do this, I'm going to give you the dick. If you don't, you're not going to get it. I'm going to give you just the tip if you don't. But I think like a lot of it is just like addressing it and just like kind of, just having a normal communication about it. Like if one of your friends is doing something that you don't like, you wouldn't try to train your friend. You would just talk to him and explain what he's doing in a calm way that, is hurting the friendship.
Yeah. That's a good answer.
All right, so let's see what else we got. Just tuned in, any advice on getting laid as a single dad? So it would be the same exact advice as any other person. Like there's no like special game you need to do as a single dad. The one thing I will comment is I have a buddy who a very sad story. He was married, love of his life. She passed away from brain cancer, like super sad story. But she had a daughter like a year before she passed. But anyway, so eventually, because he knew what I did, so eventually he was like, "Hey, Alex, like, I'm almost embarrassed to ask, but can you give me some, some feedback on my Tinder? I'm ready to go back out there." And so I gave him some feedback, right? And then like 3 months later, he's like, "Dude, I'm fucking crushing it." He's like, and I'm like, "Well, what are you doing?" And basically what he was doing is just fully owning the single dad aspect. So I think the single dad thing can be perceived as a positive or negative based on how you feel about it. So negative could be that, whatever, that, you got some other girl knocked up, that you have this, a burden in your life, but there's so many positives too. Like, you're a man who can commit, you're a man who cares about somebody, you have responsibility. Like, fuck those guys who don't have kids, those fucking little soy boys. I'm a real fucking single dad. Like, so I just think a lot of it is how you position it.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think it doesn't matter your circumstance or what, if you're a single dad or a young guy or an old guy. There's fundamental things that have been age old, centuries old, that if you can learn, that the basics and the building blocks of a character and a warrior spirit and all the things we talk about, then it doesn't matter.
Zan, do you think you're ever going to have kids? Like, do you want that in your life?
I have a daughter.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, I have a daughter in Canada, and she's grown up and she's married, and she's the love of my life. I adore her. And I was a single dad. Yeah, I was a single dad trying to figure it out, and lost and confused, and trying to do the right thing. So I understand this guy's question a lot. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, let's jump to the next one. Do you think you'll ever have more kids, or you're just like kind of happy with where you're at?
Well, I don't know. It's like, maybe I'll be like Picasso. When he turned 60, he started like surrounding himself with children. Maybe I'll be
That's
like
true.
that. I don't know. I life is life, and who knows. But maybe, yeah.
You never know. All right. 6 months ago, I messed up with a girl, came off too sexual. How can I text her again to get it restarted? Like, how do I set the frame to get her interested? Wait, I think there's like part 2 to this question. Okay, there we go. Oh yeah, no, this is just a question. I mean, what's your take? What's your take on this?
Well, I tell you, the 6 months have passed, but you can absolutely text her again. Came off too sexual, messed up with a girl. Who knows? I'd have to know the details, but because can it be restarted? Yeah, I think it can be restarted. Depends on the details of how she ran away. I'm not sure. How do I get the frame to get her reinterested? But you have nothing to lose to reach out to her and say, "Hey,
exactly, nothing
what are you
to
doing,
lose.
crazy girl? Nothing to lose."
Yeah. The best way to reach out to a girl who you fucked up with by being too sexual is to send her a dick pic. That's reinitiation 101. Send her big juicy, even not yours, just send her a dick pic of like some big black guy and be like, "Hey babe, I missed you." To answer this question, I think it really depends on the context. Like, for example, did you mess up a little bit? Like, how well did you know this girl? Was this a girl who you went on a few dates with, or was this a girl that you were just talking to and never met up with? So you definitely need more context. But feel free to make a post in the PWF forums and kind of write out the situation. I'll take a look at it tonight or tomorrow. How can I get a copy of the book? So we're gonna just. How do you recommend guys go about like contacting you, or what? How do you usually do this?
To get my book, go to alabastergirl.com. It's like, and I'll send you a physical copy. You just pay for the shipping and handling. I'll sign it, put a handy dandy bookmark in it, and send it to you. And it's going to come from Romania. So every Friday we take the orders and we have it.
So you'll get it in 6 to 12 months.
You'll get it. No, it comes pretty good. It comes pretty fast. But go to alabastergirl.com, pay for shipping and handling. I'll give it to you as a gift until I run out, and then and let me know what you think of it. And if you want to, if you want to go to Amazon and buy it so I can make a little bit of money, that's okay too. I don't mind, and give it a review. And if you want to get the Kindle version, obviously go to Amazon. And I recorded the audio version.
Oh, I was actually going to ask you about that later because I was.
It.
Yeah. When is that coming out?
Man. Well, it's 3/4 post processing now. Like you get all the pops and sneezes and farts out of it, and then the guy's in London doing it right now, a good guy, Marathi guy, And so when the audiobook is out, or when the audio is done, then I just have to upload it to Audible and that kind of stuff. So hopefully with, sometime before the new year. I don't know.
Okay, so it's pretty soon. Damn, dude,
I read it in my voice, with my head in a closet, surrounded by clothes hanging over me. So
that's the best way to do it, is when the author reads the book. Most of the time. It depends on the author's voice, but yeah, man, I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I think that's going to be a big game changer for you, because now, like, a lot of it is Audible. Like, people don't even, like, I'll be honest, like, I almost never read books. I do only audiobooks. I go through a lot of audiobooks, but physically I don't really.
Well, that's coming. So be prepared. And if you want the Kindle version, go to Amazon. Or go to Audible when the Audible, or I'll send you a physical book and sign it and send it to you.
Yeah, we'll throw all the links in the description. So just check the description half an hour after this live stream ends. Do you have any other books in the works right now?
Yeah. I've been working on my second book, and I'm completely stymied. I don't want to say I'm blocked, because I know what I'm trying to write. I have everything in my head, but I'm just I'm distracted. I'm not concentrating on my book, and I'm doing other things, and and I'm not sure why. So, but I'm working on it. The world cannot end. The apocalypse cannot come, because I have to finish this book. So you guys will be okay.
Dude, I mean, yeah, I think anyone who's ever written a book, which is 0.0001% of guys, can relate. That's fucking very, writer's block is a real thing. When I was creating the PWF product, which is like in a book of its own, because it's like kind of a book format, dude, I had to do something very similar to what you did. Instead of going to a Nicaraguan village, I went to my mom's rural house in New Jersey and just basically shut myself up in the attic for a month. And
you have to.
And like my mom said that I was like the most miserable she's ever seen me, because I was just like so frustrated, because I was constantly writing, just snapping at people. Mom would be like, "Hey, honey, do you want some?" "No, Mom, I'm working." She's like, "Okay, yeah." So it's definitely, it's a process, but then once you finally get it done, it's such like a good feeling. Like once you're finally finished with it, and people have read it, and you got out there, and people are liking your work, it's very rewarding. All right.
Yeah, I go for a month every year, like somewhere. I disappear. Last January I went to Florence, Italy, and I hid in a nunnery. I went to a nunnery basically, and I hid there to work on my second book, and I disappeared from the internet for a month. And I think you have to do that now and then.
You have to do that, because writing the book, you're gonna start fucking around on emails, and I caught myself doing that so many times, or like answering questions, and you're like, well, I'm still working, but you're not working on what you need to be working. So yeah, for sure, it's a very easy trap. There's this girl that I've been seeing casually. She went away to college, and I noticed her high investment gradually decreased as we texted. A couple of weeks ago, she returned, but didn't say anything. Well, I mean, like, you're the man, so you should say something. I mean, it's great when the girl says something, but I would, hit her up, be like, "Hey, you're back in blah blah blah, your town," and then kick things off as well. It could be maybe a number of things. Maybe she met a guy in college. Maybe she's actually seeing someone. Maybe she realized she's a lesbian. I mean, like, so many things. But you gotta make the move and see what happens.
Yeah, you don't know until you investigate it. That's for sure.
Yeah. How are some guys naturally good at game, but some guys are natural and have to learn it? Interesting question.
Yeah, because I think that the answer is every guy who seems natural had to learn it. Every guy that I know that I've ever talked to that seemed like they were natural and like had this sense of abundance, and you initially talk to them and say, "Why, you just be yourself, or you just speak your truth or whatever." But when I talk to them at a different level, and I say, "Listen, let me know about this. What is really going on?" And they said, "Man, there was times in my life where I just felt insecure, just like anybody else, and felt lost, and I couldn't get girls, and so there's a conscious effort here to try and understand something about yourself and about women, about your path through life, about your career, that makes all the difference." It's the guys who are natural because they consciously step forward and try to figure it out. That's the truth of it.
I think a lot of it also depends on your upbringing. Like, if you, for example, like if you had, like, let's take this this example, right? You have two identical twins, right? They're both separated at birth, and one goes to live with one foster family, one goes to live with the other foster family, right? And the first foster family is like, they degrade him, they put him down, they say he's never going to be good enough. Maybe there's another foster child who they're always comparing him to, like, why can't you be more like your brother? Blah blah blah. Maybe he goes to a school where he's already kind of on a low track. He doesn't really play any sports because his parents don't try to get him to play sports, and he's not that popular. Blah blah blah. The other guy, his parents constantly tell him, listen, you can do whatever you want to do. You can be, you're going to be the best version. You're already good as you are. Like, you can do anything. And like, you should play football. You should play football. Starts playing football, becomes more popular, starts hooking up with more girls. Let's take this, and then 10, 15 years in, those guys are going to be at a different point. Now, the interesting thing, or the sad thing, whichever way you want to look at it, is you can't really change your upbringing. It is what it is. And dwelling, I definitely agree that dwelling on it, like, does you no good. Like, there's nothing to be gained by that, or over analyzing it. I just think you should be aware of it. Yeah. So at that point, it's like, what are you going to do next, right? Like, are you going to just let that dictate the rest of your life? Like, me personally, I didn't. Like, me personally,
here we are.
Yeah, you are where you are. Like, I didn't lose my virginity until I was 19. Slept with girls until my mid-20s. I mean, we got this guy here who's like living in the woods and shit in Canada. Like, but you can, if you take the right action, you can turn it around. Right. Don't you have to be attractive to generate that kind of attractive energy you're talking about? Okay, interesting question.
Well, the way I say it is, women are not attracted to men who are good looking. They're attracted to men who are attractive. And attractive is a different thing than being good looking. Attractive has an element of artistic expression, perhaps, or ambition, or you're driven to succeed in life, and women are attracted to that sense of attractiveness. That's why you see guys who are not tall, not good looking, but they have women because they have some substance about them that is different than good looking. It is their attractiveness is their quality of life that they try and create for themselves. Their energy, their spirit. Their spirit is like attractive. Like, that's why women are always in love with starving artists. The guy has nothing to offer. He's self-absorbed, but these models and stuff are fall in love with the starving artist because he's caught up in something that is greater than himself, greater than her, greater than anything. He's caught up in trying to find this, transcendent mission in life, and women can't resist it. So, attractiveness is different than good looking, if that's what your question is.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're talking about is important. I would say both are key parts of it, and how much each part is important is going to depend on the girl. Like, some chicks, and what stage of life they're in. Like, a 40-year-old mom might be looking more for like a guy who's stable, who's just a good guy, versus when she was 18, she was looking for the hot guy, right? Like, so, yeah, it just depends what stage of the life is girls. But like, looks are important. Having inner, purpose and integrity, and being, having solid inner game is important. Like, they're all, important sides of the same coin. But you can only manipulate your looks so much. Like, if you're a 6, you can become an 8, but you'll never become a 10, right? In terms of purely physical. So, but your inner game, you can, manipulate heavily. Like, if you have like a level 3 inner game, you can level up and become a level 10 MPUA. All right, so she says, I haven't felt like talking to people much lately. I've just had a lot going on, thinking about talking to some time for myself. So I just end contact or continue to pursue? Input, please.
Like I said, I'm looking for devotion, man. I want the girl to be excited, not to be completely smitten with me and marry me, but I want her to be excited that I'm, because I'm excited. I like the girl. I want her to see her again, and so I'm looking for that. So if I feel that energy is like, okay, maybe sometime I can get together, then I say it. Like Alex said, I call it out. I said, listen, you don't seem too engaged or excited, so let's do something else. So I curtail it, but others might try and do something to spark it. I don't know, but for me, it's like, she's not interested, and there's other girls out there. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, just in a situation like that, just also like just saying something like, okay, like she might be like, whoa, because most guys are going to try to convince her and be like, oh, well, we'll have such a good time. But if you're just like, okay, best of luck, something like that, like something that's not like not bitter, not aggressive, but just like, okay, something like that, then the girl will be like, well, actually, maybe we could give it a shot. So just like pulling back, a situation like that can also be powerful. What city would you guys say is the best to pull female? To pull female, just one female. It's not pull females, it's just pull female.
Well, any city with his girls. I mean, like,
Oh, I missed the for same day lay FWB friends with benefits.
oh, I don't know, anywhere, really. Manhattan, Warsaw, Bucharest, Montreal, Panama City. You know.
You got those
I don't know.
sexy French Canadians in Montreal. I mean, I have a video on this, but really, like, if you go to Southeast Asia, like Bali, Manila, that's going to be like super easy. If you go to like certain parts of South America, like Medellin or Rio de Janeiro, it's going to be super easy. Warsaw is going to be definitely easier than the U.S., but a bit harder than those places. So it's it just depends where you can take more advantage of sexual arbitrage. So yeah, all right.
Exactly. Yeah.
I feel like this topic has been covered pretty extensively. All right, so let's take like a few more questions. Let's see. Okay, interesting question. Why do you think there was a rite of passage for guys, men only? Why guys, men the only sex that were meant to have a rite of passage?
Well, because I'll tell you why. Because women have a natural rite of passage that men don't have. Girls get their period for the first time, and now they're embarrassed and afraid, and and run to mom. And it's a ritual for women. It's a ritual for girls to have that, because they now feel like I've shifted from a girl to becoming a woman, and we don't have that. We don't have that. Women have that very strongly in them, that they have a natural rite of passage called getting their period at some point, right? And men just been pulling their pud, for years, and nothing's changed. So we don't have the rite of passage. So we don't have that art, that creative rite of passage. But women have it naturally in their cycle of, going from girl to woman. So they have it. They have they all have it, and they can feel it. And they look up to mother and grandma says, "Oh, okay, now let me teach you about this." And it's a ritual thing for women for sure. They have it.
Guys, the solution is to get your periods. No, I mean, yeah, that's an interesting point. I honestly, that's one of the few questions I don't think I really have the answer to. I'm not sure. That's one I would have to really think about. Okay, this is a good question. What is the first step a guy should take consistently get into the mindset you write about in the Alabaster Girl?
Well, become aware of what's possible. Become aware that we're all insecure in our head and lost, including that girl that you like. The girl you like, you think, wow, she's got no problem, she's got nothing going on, she's not insecure because she's so confident. She's not. I promise you. She hates she hates her body.
That's true.
She would change everything about her. She doesn't like her nose. She thinks that her laugh is stupid. Everything. So when you realize that, something in you can soften and realize that we're all in the same boat. We're all in our head. We're all trying to figure it out. We're all trying to, So there's an awareness that kicks in when you get this. And the mindset then is a relaxed mindset, because you realize, I can talk to anybody, because anybody in history talked to anybody, and that's just a girl. She's just a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true. I mean, I'm sure you can relate to this. Like, how many times have you seen like a girl who's like stunning, talk about how this or that about her is ugly? Like, babe, I don't know about my nose. It's 0.01% to the left.
Are you kidding me?
What are you talking about? You're fucking instant boner material. Like, fucking, my dog is hard when he sees you. Like, what are you talking about? Would you say that 21-year-old guys will have a much more difficult time with dating?
No. I think no. Now maybe you haven't traveled a lot or have some experience or something like that, but no, none of that matters if you are truly, to me, if you are stepping forth as a seeker in life, like a treasure hunter. You want to understand something about yourself at 21, and you speak that, like Alex said, you leave nothing to chance. You say, listen, I'm 21 years old, you're 30, you're 28 or whatever, I don't know.
I'm 30,
but I'm trying to understand my life, and I'm trying to become this great lover, and I want to know, and who are you? So I don't think the age has anything to do with anything at all, ever. Now,
I think
I was going to just say that naturally, as you get older, you're going to have this subset of girls, not all of them. In fact, there's a subset of girls, for whatever issues she's had, or quote unquote issues, she's attracted to older men. and she's just drawn to that, professor type of, whiskered, white-haired older guy. I know lots of girls that are really attracted to a guy with white hair and in a pot belly. They're just young girls. They're attracted to him. Like, really? Yeah. So who knows? Psychologists could tell you.
You have to start running grandpa game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anything, it's easier now than ever because you have all this information at your fingertips. Like, dude, I would have given anything to have PWF or like, your content or just any of that. Well, actually, I had your content, so when I was getting into game, but to have like my content, like to be able to go through like all the trial and error I could have like, skipped on if I had that information. You have dating apps now. Like, I think if anything, it's easier than ever. Yeah, like when guys say like, oh, like the good old days are gone, you can't really meet girls anymore, it's like total nonsense. Like, if anything, it's easier, certainly not harder. Can you have a PUA lifestyle in your 40s, 50s, or 60s?
I've never changed. I'm the same guy that I was when, and I have a girl, and I love my girl, but I love women, and I love women. My house is always. If you ever come to Bucharest and you ever see me, we play a big guitar, and my house is filled with women all the time.
Oh,
because I want it. I want girls around me. I like it, and all my friends are girls, and I've had some major dating coaches guys come to the city, and come visit me. I had one guy, I won't say his name, who came here for a few months and set up shop here with his 10 employees, dating company, and he would come to my house once a week, and I've got girls, and we're sitting around, have a glass of wine, playing a guitar, and the place is filled with girls and fun. And he would say, Zan, I don't know how you do it. You're sitting, I come to your house, it's filled with girls. My house here that I rented is filled with 10 guys split testing YouTube videos and coming up with the proper titles, and and they're all on computers all day long, and you're sitting here with girls. Well, because yeah. Well, I said to him, that's why you're rich and I'm not, because I'm sitting with girls and you're split testing stuff, like it's all what you want. So,
but that is interesting. Like, how do you do that? Like, what is the what is the motivation for? Because you're taken, you're not going to hook up with them. So what is like the motivation for girls to like just constantly be hanging out with you?
Well, because I know what I like, and I adore girls. I love the female spirit. I love women around me, and I don't have an open relationship. You understand that, right?
Yeah.
But the secret that men do not understand about women is your girl, and yes, your girl, whoever's listening to this, your girlfriend or your wife who's listening to this, would allow this sense of abundance with you if you set it up in the right way. It's the truth. Women are naturally inclined to offer abundance to their men. Doesn't mean they offer women to them. But if they feel like that she's the queen, she's the lily of the valley for you, she doesn't mind you having other girls around that are in your life. I mean, I'm saying this very short and very compact, but it's absolutely true that there's just a sense of abundance. For a guy like me, I want women around me because I adore women, and I would never hurt my girl, So I'm saying a lot, packed into like a half a paragraph, but I promise you it is the eighth wonder of the world if you get to that sense. When you have a sense of abundance, and women come over to my house and I say, why are you coming over here every day after work? And they will say this, because there's such a release and such an escape here. I feel caught up in something that I can't get anywhere else. And it's true, and I love it, and I want my house to be filled with wayward girls. The whole thing. I love it. And I can't have anything less. So I don't change. I don't change one drop. If I go out to the bar with you, which I've done many times with guys who come to the city, and if I go to the bar with you, I'm talking to every girl. I leave nothing to chance. I'm sub-communicating with every girl that walks by. Hey, come here, talk. I never saw you yet. I talked to every other girl in the bar but you. Come here, talk to us for a second. Come talk to me and Alex. I leave nothing to chance. So I talk to everyone. I want to know everyone. I invite them over constantly, and like I said, my house is filled with it, and I want this.
So
and they know their place. They know their place. Know your place, girl. They know that's my girl. That there's the queen of my life. That's my sweetie. That's my beauty. So
Yeah, I mean that's truly fascinating, man. Like, so what do you think is the right way to set it up? Like, how can guys? Because I think when you're describing something, a lot of guys are going to be jealous of. They would probably want it to be like a giant orgy, but that's like,
yeah.
But so what would you say is the right way to set it up? And how do you avoid like jealousy when it comes to your girlfriend? I mean your wife. Like, what's the?
Yeah, I'll tell you what it is, guys. The secret to that is to always be, how do I say it? It's the little attentions. Guys think we have to buy a dozen roses or hot air balloons and all this big monumental. You don't have to do any of that. I promise you. You don't have to do these things. But it's the little things every day. Like, I know a guy who's in an open relationship, quote unquote, and she's in love with him, and they've been together for 10 years, more than that. And their open relationship is in name only, because they don't practice it at all, because they just adore each other so much. They just love each other so much. But what he does, and here's the secret of it, is if your girl or your wife, let's say it's your wife, if your wife feels like you are amazed by her. I don't mean her body or her looks or whatever, but amazed by the person she is and what she's trying to accomplish in life. For instance, her career, and you don't understand her career, but you really want to know who she is, and you visit her. The word that's overused today is communication. Let's have communication. Instead, I would use the word visit. You sit with her and you visit her and say, "Tell me about you. I don't know what you're doing at work, and what do you love, and what are you blocked in, and what are you excited about?" And if she feels that appreciation and that you really care about who she is and what she's trying to do, she'll follow you to the ends of the earth, and she'll allow you anything. And guys don't know this. Guys go about their job, and the way they come back, they watch TV with the girl. But if you can let her feel like she's seen, like really seen, and really appreciated on a level of as a person, and she feels like he really admires me and he's really proud of me. If you're proud of your girl and she can feel that, and you say it to her, she'll allow you anything. That's the truth of it. And I tell this, I've spoken to women's groups around the world, from Sweden to Mexico. And when I say this, women go, "Oh no, I would never." Yes, you would. Yes, you would. Women say, my husband would never blah, blah. Yes, you would allow it. Yes, you would. In this and this and this and this, you would. I'm saying a lot again. Yeah.
Is it a challenge for? Sorry, go ahead.
I'm saying a lot here, but there's an understanding that only a few ever understand, and women in the presence of that man will say, I'll give this guy anything, because I feel adored by him, and I feel seen by him, and I feel carried by him. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Is it a challenge for you to resist temptation? Because I feel like almost like what you're doing is like, you're trying to like eat healthy, but then you have a fucking Kit Kat bar right in front of you at all times. You know what I mean? So is it like a challenge for you?
No, it's like, because I like my girl. I like girls, but I've been with enough women in my life. I shouldn't say this, but it's true. I've been with enough women in my life that I realized that, she's, if I got her in my bed and had this, I just really adore my girl. I guess that's, I don't know. But I wouldn't be with her in a relationship on the level I am if I didn't, and if I wanted to have an open relationship or wanted to explore around, I'd be honest about that and straight up say it, and there's nothing wrong with that, And if I felt that, I would absolutely do it. I would absolutely do it. And maybe she doesn't stick around because she wants more of an exclusive thing. I understand that, but I got to do what I have to do, So for me, it's like I want this spirit of that feminine grace around me. I want it all the time. I love it. I love it. I love it. And the girls, they bring it. And even my buddies here in Romania, there's a bunch of guys that came and did a Casa Emerald experience with me, which is a intense programming or coaching with me in Bucharest, where they pay me and we spend the extended weekend together, day and night. And I watch them, they watch me. There's been 5 guys out of the dozens and dozens who have come to the Casa Emerald experience who got married here to a Romanian girl. They still live here. And these guys, they would come over. I just saw some last night. I saw two guys last night. 2 guys last night that are with 2 Romanian women that they married. And we went out for food last night. I was with these guys last night. And they're hanging out. And I've known the girls for years. I knew them before the guys did. And they're all part of that that a sense of abundance, and they'll come running. If I was sick or hurt or something, those girls would come running to take care of you. You know, it's like you feel cared for. You know, and it's a good thing. Yeah.
Well, this kind of leads me to another question. What would you say are like the keys to being in a successful, committed relationship, whether that's marriage or just just dating exclusively? Like, what would you say are some of the keys? I know it's a super vague question to like having that work out, because I know this is you see this all the time, especially in the red pill community. Like, don't ever get married, don't ever get married. You know, girls nowadays will fuck you over. I do think there are some elements of truth about weddings in the West, like how getting married is can be dicey for some men in the U.S., especially if your guy has a lot of money.
I think so. I think it can be dicey for sure. But
what would you say are like some keys to actually making it work?
Like I said, if what I want is devotion, myself to her and her to me. I want to be really excited about my girl, and I want her to be excited about me. And if I felt in any way that she isn't fascinated or excited about me, then there's something in there that's broken, and I would probably drift away from it. You know. I wouldn't stay in a relationship that feels like it's one-sided or it's all me doing all the work, you know. So I'm looking for that. That's the only thing I ever want. Is like I want to be excited about my girl. I want to be proud of her, and I want her to be excited and proud of me. And if a man feels that, it's so rare. You know, it's so rare. But if you experience that in a relationship with a woman, you'll feel like you will know what it's like to really bear witness and stand on this earth, you know. That's a great experience to have, and it's something that's created by a leadership mentality. By a man who has boundaries. You put down boundaries, say, this is what I want, this is how I want it to be. I want joy and the spirit of joy. I want generosity of spirit in my life. I don't want my girl to be judgmental. Like, my girl would never, if anybody came up to her in the bar and said, hey, listen, it was, can I buy you a drink? She would never ever be bitchy to that guy. And I wouldn't be with a girl who would be bitchy to the guy. I don't want that girl. So guys say to me, how do you handle the bitch shield, you know? Handle it in what way? As soon as I experience that in any level at all, it's like, trying to push through that is like riding a bicycle with the brakes on. It feels that thudding energy, and I'm done. I'm not interested in teaching a girl, oh, did your mother not teach you right? Or I don't do these kind of things. It's like if a girl is bitchy to a guy in a bar who's sincere, he's being kind, he's being real, he's not grabbing her ass or something, but then I understand, right? But she's bitchy out of artificial because she's just going to be mean to a guy. Done. I don't want her in my life in any way. And none of the girls I know that hang around me are that way. I wouldn't be around them. I don't want that energy around. I'm not going to try and teach her to be, to better ways. I don't joke about it with her. I'm just done with her. See ya. You're not a good girl. You're not a good person. I'm done. I'm not gonna fight for this. Somebody else can teach you a lesson, not me. I want abundance. I want joy. I want the sweet spirit of great women in my life, and I have that. I have that in these women.
I think a big part of what you're saying is that you're very selective about the girls that you will get into a relationship with in the first place.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, that's right.
And yeah, I'm exactly the same way. Like, all the girls who I ever had like a real relationship with, like, I'll fuck any girl who's hot and doesn't have, STDs. But in terms of like relationships, like, all the girls I've ever been in a relationship with, which is like 3 or 4 by now, I've been like really sweet, very loyal, very kind. Like, none of the girls who I've been with would also like brutally reject a guy. Maybe they would if they're having a bad day, but generally speaking, they wouldn't. They're all sweet girls. So yeah, I think that's like key. Having a successful relationship is be selective, very selective of the person that you even embark on having a relationship with, because you're not a girl who's like mean-spirited and who's like a bitch. Like, you're not going to be able to have a long-term successful relationship with her, even if you are like really good at communicating and you fuck her really well, because that's just not her character. And unless she's willing to change, which most people are not, then it's going to surface at some point.
Why would you want to be with somebody who's not inspiring to you? Why would you want to be? We're trying to be warriors and trying to be artists and trying to be entrepreneurs and business CEOs of that. Why would you want to be with a woman that drags you down and drags your energy down and nags you? I have like that concept of nagging. I will never abide it. Never. And I've been with my girl for many years. Never, not once, never once did she ever give me one drop of, well, what am I gonna do? You think? Never. Not a drop of it. I wouldn't, because I wouldn't be in a relationship with her if she did.
I think it's an interesting question. I'm pretty much the same way, but I think that, and I know people who are like that. They will actually they will ignore the sweet girls and pick the bitches to like. And I've asked them this like time and time again. Like, you had 5 girls in your life. One of them was devoted to you. She was really sweet. You know, she seemed like she had potential. One of them was kind of flaky and was just being a bitch to you. Yet you chose the bitchy one to like try to have a relationship with. Like, why? And I think, you know, the answer I've heard is like, yeah, you know, I kind of almost like get off on that. Like, I want the girl who's a challenge, who's not too into me. Like, I lose attraction if girls like too into me. I just think that's like a weird inner game type of mentality issue that some guys have, which was, you're right, they deliberately pick the girls that are not meant to be. They're doing the opposite of what you're doing.
Yeah, because it's a challenge, you know. But also understand this, and I want to be very clear on the distinction here. When I say that she's not bitchy in a challenge in that way, it doesn't mean that she's a pushover and yes sir, and any of that kind of stuff. So my girl and the girls that I'm attracted to are kings or queens of their own industry, and they're queens of their, and they have massive confidence, and they're not doormats in any way at all. They're, you know, they are absolutely the equal of me, in a feminine version, in a way that I look up to them and say, wow, that's a great girl. That's a great girl. The girls in my life, I look up to them as good girls. They're great girls. They're not like all sweet and do whatever I say.
You respect them. Like, they're people that you respect.
I respect them, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's also crucial.
People,
yeah. Like, again, like, I'll fuck a girl. You know, I'll fuck some like Instagram influencer girls who just like don't have shit going on in their life, and their whole life is just like making sexy posts on Instagram. Like, I'll fuck those girls. But for like dating, like, yeah, I want a girl who I respect. Doesn't mean she has to make a lot of money, but I have to like respect what she's doing with her life. Like, and if I don't, like, it's gonna be hard for me to take her seriously outside, sex. Let's take like 2 more questions. So, is it easy to have feelings of envy, jealousy of guys who had a better upbringing by their parents, childhood, that set them up the way to have early success with girls, how to interact successfully? I believe it has been said guys need to have certain role models growing up in their childhood, teens, and that set them up in a way for having good interactions with being able to attract women.
Well, you know, when I was younger, yeah, I mean, like, I was insecure and jealous of guys. Really looking at them, and I was envious, not jealous, envious. I was envious of guys who had cool things happening in their life, and I wasn't. Now I just don't care. I really don't care what anybody thinks of me. I could meet some major celebrity, and I'm just like, how can this guy be of service to me? Like, come help me what I'm doing, you know? I don't know, something shifted to me at some point where I don't have this envy of anybody ever, nobody. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think to answer the question, it is easy to feel jealous of guys who did have a good upbringing. It's easy if you allow yourself to go down that road. But I just think that's a road that there's nothing to be gained by going down it. Like, okay, so you're really jealous, then what? Like, you still can't change your upbringing. So I see no point in it. Like, it's easy to indulge and kind of go down that, you know, train of thought. Like, for me, for example, you know, like, well, get slightly personal, you know, I had Lyme disease for a long time, right? And it's fucking frustrating because you're like fucking, you know, you're in so much pain, you can't do shit. And it's very easy to be like, why the fuck do I have to get fucking Lyme? Like, why can't I be like one of those healthy people who never has to get bit by a fucking tick and then get misdiagnosed for like a year? But there's nothing to be gained by going down that road. It's like, it's already happened. There's nothing I can do to change the past. So just focus on the present and the future. So yeah.
Yeah.
Let's take one last question. How do you keep your confidence with girls while getting older?
Oh man, if like Alex said earlier, if you can't change something, you feature it. First thing out of my mouth to girls is my age. First thing out of my mouth. Really, what
how old are you? Because you look deceptively young, man.
I'm 56 right now.
Dude, you look like you're like 38, 39, 40. Like, you look so fucking young.
It's girls keep you young, man. Keep you young.
That's the secret. Is just like an ample amount of like fresh pussy, I guess. We found the cure to aging, guys.
Exactly. I eat young girls. Keep me young.
That's why you live in Romania. That explains everything.
Yeah. So I mean, like, the first thing out of my mouth is like, because if it's something that you imagine this, a 21-year-old girl looks at a guy who's, you know, if she has to ask you your age and say, okay, well, and you're flirting and doing those kinds of stuff, she says, well, wait a minute, I have a question for you. How old are you anyway? And you make a joke around it, which is what guys do. Oh, joke, I don't ask how fat you are, whatever, right? They make this joke. If it's a problem for you, it's a problem for her.
Mm-hmm.
But all the guys I know who are older, who have massive success with girls and with young girls, the first thing out of their mouth is, what am I going to do with you? You're like 21 years old. What can you possibly offer to me? In other words, the context, I've been around the world, I've started businesses, I've had some great lovers in my life. What am I going to do with you, crazy girl? And when you have that spirit, the girls are like, oh, I'll show you. Yeah, something shifts. It's a different perspective again. You know, it's a perspective of saying, yeah, I have this experience of life, and I've seen some things. What am I going to do with you?
So true, so true. It's just the way you frame it.
They don't care about your age. Yeah. They care about that. Yeah, so true.
Yeah, 100%. All right, awesome, dude. This was a great interview / Q&A. Thanks a lot for joining, man. This is definitely interesting. If guys want to learn more about your content or just want to support you, what's the best way they can go about it?
Well, go to arzamorata.com, ARSAMORATA.com, or zanperrion.com. My name, zanperrion.com. I do coaching, but I don't do much coaching anymore. I do what I call Winston Wolfe coaching, which is, if you saw Winston Wolfe in Pulp Fiction, he's the guy that came in and cleaned up the body in 45 minutes. And that's what I do. If you have a very specific problem with a very specific girl that you're really in love with and is falling apart, or it's or you're losing the girl, you don't know what to text her, and you want to know, that's what I do. That I like to do because I can solve problems because I know what she's thinking. So I can help the guys with that. So, but as far as coaching generally about life and style, there's lots of coaches. So I don't do a lot of that. I'm trying to write my book. But go to zanperrion.com. I have an online group. I have an online course. I have a membership group called the Amorati, AMORATI, and we've got members for like 12 years. We have conference twice a year. Last time we did it, because of coronavirus, we did the last two, the spring and the fall one, we did them online on Zoom. But we have a conference twice a year in different cities of the world, from Copenhagen to whatever. And we have 80, 90 guys show up every year, or twice a year, so from around the world. And we've got a good membership group, and our guys are good. And if you want my book, I'll send it to you. Or go to Amazon, buy it. Give me my $2.
Awesome, bro. I'm looking forward to the audiobook. Definitely let me know when that comes out.
Yeah. But if you want the physical copy, I've got 2,000 copies. I'll sign it and I'll have it in the mail on the next Friday. You'll get it in America, wherever you are, within a couple weeks, usually. Allow 3 weeks or so, just in case. But you'll get a copy of it, and let me know what you think of it. I'd like to know. So.
Nice, for sure, man. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. This was a very definitely interesting interview. We got Vadim from Honest Signals joining us next Sunday, so don't miss that one as well. We're just still locking down the time. All right, Zan, good chatting, man.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys. Nice to share with you guys, and hope it was helpful.
For sure.